Welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be talking about all of the bronzers that I have in my collection and how I feel about them, because I feel like now that we're getting into summer-ish, I mean it's technically spring, but this is when brands are like, bronzers, blush! I just want to like touch base on everything that's in my collection before I just start buying stuff because it's new, because we want to avoid that. Talk about all of the bronzers that I currently have in my collection and my thoughts and feelings, their wear, the formula, the color, and then at the end I'll rank them. If you're new here, my name is Kay and I like to promote quality over quantity. No single person needs to even have as much as I have. I have more than the average person. So I think just a handful of like blushes or bronzers, highlighters, like 2 or 3 for an average person is more than enough. And so I'm here to help you figure out what types of formulas would work best for your personal preferences. So please keep in mind that just because I love something or dislike something, it's nothing against you. So my own personal preferences on bronzers would definitely have to be matte, creamy, wears all day, gives me color without making me look muddy. You know, it blends out easily. The goal is any of my bronzers in my collection aren't gonna mess up my base makeup, because it's like the second or third step in most people's makeup routines when they're doing a makeup routine is complexion, bronze, or contour the face. You know what I mean? So that step is a crucial step of whether you're gonna look muddy or just like weird. You know? Yeah, I want it to blend, be a nice color, not be patchy. No shimmer. Oh, and no shimmer. None. So the first products I want to talk about are my Brontour category, and all 3 of these are creams. For a Brontour, it's a bronzing product, but it's neutral enough so it has equal warm and cool tones. On some people it could pull more warm, and then some people it can pull more cool. So it just really depends on what your like Brontour shade is going to be, but for me it's a nice neutral. The first Brontouring product that gives me both warmth and a chiseling effect is the Tower 28 Sculptino. I wear this in the shade Getty. It's such a lovely formula. If you've been watching me for any amount of time, you'll come to learn that I'm not really into balms all that much. I find that balms don't last very long on the skin, but the Tower 28 cream formulas, whether it's their blushes or bronzers, or I guess in this is considered a contour product. This formula lasts, and it's so creamy, it's so effortless. It has just the right amount of coolness and warmth to both give warmth and life to my skin and also give a little bit of chiseling. But also it's super creamy and has like a translucency. It's not gonna look too makeup-y. It's gonna look very natural, very flawless, and it just sits and wears so gorgeous with any type of base product I have. I could have more of like a full coverage look like I have on today, or I could use it with just a skin tint or a tinted SPF. I can't recommend this product enough, and it's one of my favorite bronzing products. Okay, next is this beauty. This is by Armani Beauty. This is the Armani Beauty Neo Nude Melting Color Balm. Ooh, I almost got it. These names are just so long. I have this in the shade 21. This is supposed to be a warm brown, but on me, this pulls kind of like, it has some warmth, but it also has a little bit of coolness to it that does act like a bronzer. And so I find that this is the more matte, velvety version of the Tower 28 Sculptino. If you like one, you'll like the other. This one you can definitely build up to be more glam, or when first applied, the first layer, it'll be sheer, it'll be nice and buildable. It's just like this airy, light, beautiful formula. It's really, really something special. It's kind of hard. I wouldn't say that this is hard to find, but it comes in and out of stock with different retailers, including like Armani's website where they sell the makeup. But it's so beautiful. I think this is an incredible formula. Any shade that you get is absolutely incredible. I also have another color that I use more of as a blush, but yeah, this one, it's like the ultimate bronzer on me. And also, if you do find that the Tower 28 is a little too emollient and dewy, if you have a more oily skin type, this is for you. This is velvety. It feels, it's not powdery at all, but it has this like velvety softness that's like a cloud, and it's just, it's so beautiful. But yeah, I would say if you like one, you'll probably like the other, but if you have a really oily skin type, I would reach for one of these if you're looking for a good bronzer. And the last cream bronzer product that I have in my collection is the Westman Atelier Contour Face Trace Contour Stick. I have this in the shade Biscuit. This comes in a few different shades, but for me, this is the perfect sculpting yet bronzy. It's supposed to be a contour stick, but I do find that it has enough warmth in it to give life to my face without making me look a little too chiseled when I just apply this and some blush on my base. This blends out by itself. It goes on, and just like the other ones, first application, kind of sheer, blends itself, but you can also build it up. I think that this is really, 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 really lovely. And it also comes with a very luxurious price tag. It's, you know, it's luxury beauty, so it just has all the like little bells and whistles and stuff. There's mixed reviews on this. Some people don't find this to be their favorite, but for me, I think that it's really effortless and really easy. And I think the color on my skin tone and the formula on my skin type, I think it works really, really lovely. And yeah, all three of these, absolutely stunning. Will try to use up. You know, it's great. Here are some swatches of my bronzers. The top is the Tower 28 Sculptino in the shade Getty. The second one is the Armani Beauty Neo Nude Color Melting Balm in the shade 21. And the bottom is the Westman Atelier Face Trace Contour Stick in the shade Biscuit. So as you see, they're that perfect kind of neutral, has some warmth, has some chiseling properties to your makeup look while being sheer. So this is just one swipe. I didn't put multiple swatches on top of it. So this is how sheer it will go on a first application. And so when blended out, it just creates these beautiful sculpting but warming shadows, if that makes sense. But yeah. Okay, the next section are true cream bronzers. So in no way, shape, or form are these contouring at all. They're very warm leaning products. I find personally for a bronzer that I do like a little bit of red in it. I try to lean away from oranges, sometimes a yellow leaning bronzer. As long as it's kind of like a yellow neutral, I can make it work for me because of my green undertones. But other than that, a neutral bronzer is the way to go for my skin tone. And for reference, I do have like a very fair to light. In the summertime, it gets more medium, but I do have a lot of like green and gold olive undertone. So the first one that I want to talk about is an oldie, but you know, it's a really good formula. It's very schmutzy looking. This is the Nudestix All Over Face Bronzer. I have this in the shade Bondi Bay. So this is that kind of yellow neutral that I'm talking about. Is it my favorite color? No, but I'm here to attest to the formula. If I were to repurchase this again, it would be in a different shade. What shade? I don't know. I haven't really looked into it because I have so many other bronzers. I don't really need to research what perfect Nudestix color I need. Anyways, so the shade Bondi Bay, it really is... I'll just put it on the back of my hand so you can see how it has almost a yellowness to it. That can work for me for most of the year, but I do find that I do prefer a shade that is a little bit more neutral to almost has a little bit of red, like rustiness to it. But the formula to this, it's velvety, it's matte, it goes on evenly. I've never had like muddy looking patchy skin when wearing this. It's just a really, really good product, and that's why it's still in my collection. And it has, you know, I've used a lot of this. Like it's over halfway, if you can see. Which I think, you know, that's a feat. in itself. Next cream bronzer is the Nars Laguna cream bronzer. I'll go ahead and swatch it next to Bondi base just so you can see the difference in color. See, this one, it does, I would say that this can lean towards a bronzer on some skin tones, but it does have a little bit more coolness, a little bit more neutral or neutrality to it. This is in the shade Laguna 1, if I didn't already say that. So that's it swatched next to Bondi Bay. You can see like this like yellow tinge to Bondi Bay. But the Nars Cream Laguna bronzers are absolutely breathtaking. It's one of the best cream formulas I've ever used. It's not light. It's very pigmented, so a little bit of that product goes a really, really long way. So you can go overboard very easily. With that said, it's matte, it's velvety. It goes on in a very similar way to the Giorgio Armani Neo Nude Melting Balm, where it just kind of makes like this like soft velvety cloud of color on your skin. And it's so lovely. It is an absolutely beautiful, beautiful formula, and I love the color. It's one of the best bronzers for me in the wintertime, given that it does have a little bit more coolness. But yeah, I think it's absolutely stunning. And the last cream bronzer that I have is the Saie Sun Melt Bronzer. I have this in the shade Medium Bronze. This is the more slippy, it's still matte, but it does have this kind of emollients to it that when it's on the face, it really becomes one with the skin in a way where it can really like melt into like skincare, your base products, stuff like that. Not saying that these two or anything else that I've talked about sit on top like makeup-y, but this really, really, it's called Sun Melt, so it really just like melts into your skin. As you can see, this is the most warm of the three, and it does have a little bit of orange to it. Is this one my favorite? Not necessarily, but I don't deem it a bad product. Like, this is definitely for someone. I make it work for me all the time. You can make it as translucent or as pigmented as you like. It's not like the Nars where it just like, it's pigmented, like, and you have to use a very like cautious light hand with it. But this can pull really, really warm, really, really fast. So I would say that, you know, it's different strokes for different folks. Got to figure out what your favorite type of formula is. So not saying that this is bad or that it doesn't perform as well. It does have that longevity, but I do find it can slip and slide on the face a little bit due to that kind of more emollient formula. So with my preferences being more of a matte, like you put it on and it's on, that it kind of falls like in last place when it comes to the other two that I had just mentioned. And a lot of that has to do with how I like to do my skincare and my base products. I do like a dewy look. I do like a very hydrating, moisturizing, like I just got out of a facial type of like minimal makeup look. And I find that this type of dewy formula can slip and slide on the face, where the other two will stay put and stay as pigmented from the time that I put it on in the morning to the time that I take it off at night before bed. Where this can fade a little bit, not so much that I dislike it, but it does slide around a little bit more. Next is the Victoria Beckham Bronzing Brick. I have this in the shade 2. It comes with kind of a warmer and a cooler, but I just kind of smush them together. This is such a beautiful product. I feel like I've been talking about this for years and I've been using it nonstop for years. It's one of my favorite makeup products. The way this bronzer applies is so like light. I feel like I'm gonna say like light and buildable a lot. And I feel like those are my credentials for a good bronzer, is that it goes on light for, and when I say light, sheer. Sheer is the word that I'm trying to use. It goes on in a sheer way, and then you can build it up for more impact. So this goes on sheer, and then you can build it up for a more dramatic look. The color of this is so beautiful. The formula of this is so beautiful. I'm not sure if this swatches well. So that's its swatch. So as you see, it's very, very light. But, and you wouldn't think that this would make a very big impact on your face when you're using it as a bronzer, but it does. Like, it's sneaky. She's sneaky. But yeah, it just adds such a beautiful, neutral, bronzy look. It never goes on patchy or like muddy. It's just so, so gorgeous. And it just lays on the skin in this very luxurious way. And I think it's such a beautiful, wonderful product. Wearing on my face. So this is the bronzer. So this is the bronzer that I'm wearing on my face today. This is the Luffy and Rouge Le Powder Bonne. Gorgeous. I have it on my face today. It's one of my favorite powder bronzers. It's very powdery, so there's kick up. When you put your brush into it, it'll poof. But I don't find that it makes it, you know, it doesn't, so it never applies in a patchy way. So like the Victoria Beckham, it goes on in this very sheer veil of color that you can build up for more impact. And it has that same kind of neutrally color. This does pull a little bit more warm than the Victoria Beckham, but they're very similar. Very similar in formula, very similar in color. If you like one, you like the other. I love this and it matches me. Le Powder Bonne, so gorgeous. It's matte, sheer but buildable, checks all the, and perfectly neutral for my skin tone. The only thing that I can say that I dislike about the Le Powder Bonne is that it only comes in one shade, and that's Sable Dore. Dore? Yeah, and it's gorgeous, and oh God, getting it open sometimes, it's just like, it's a battle. But the mirror is so good, because there's so many, like, I've tried so many different types of luxury makeup, and when I pay a luxury price for something, I want the mirror to be like this, okay? Dior, Tom Ford, Charlotte Tilbury, okay? And next, Haus Labs. This is a newer product in my collection. This is the Power Sculpt Velvet Bronzer in the shade Light 3. Gorgeous. This is a what I believe to be a slurry formula where it starts out as like a gel liquid, and then when it dries down, it turns into a powder. And even when you touch it, it feels almost like it's like a cream in a way. But oh my lordy lord. This Easter day, do I have to say that this is one of the best powder bronzers I have ever used. Oh my God, this is so gorgeous. It's so buttery. It's like this butter. Yeah, that's what I could describe it. It's like a buttery, and yeah, like everything else, goes on sheer. It's matte, but buildable. And it's that perfect neutral. Ooh, 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 ooh. Just so beautiful. I think this is absolutely stunning. And it's definitely made me a little curious about other Haus Lab products. Because if the blushes are in the same formulation as this, I'm like, maybe I'll get myself some powder blushes. Because you know me, I'm not the biggest powder blush lady. But if they're anything like this, I want all of them. It's just so good. I'm so happy with this purchase, this recent purchase of this gorgeous, gorgeous. Oh, Gaga did it again. She did it again. It's just so, so lovely. I'm gonna stop. It's great. And that's it. That's it swatched. Working our way through, of course, I'm gonna talk about the Gucci bronzer. I just love the smell. I don't know how people don't like the smell. It's like, oh, delicious, delicious. So, like I've been saying about literally everything else where I'm like, it's sheer, but buildable. Girlfriend is not sheer. She is pigmented. She packs a punch. I have this in the shade 2. So shade number 1 has a really beautiful rosy undertone. And shade number 2, I find, has a little bit of a rosy undertone, but just like up a notch. Look at that. That's a totally different like pigmentation level with like one swatch of the Fangy. So gorgeous. This can go, a little bit goes a really long way. And something I have noticed, it can sometimes, I've noticed sometimes, it can leave the dreaded pigmentation blob. So you know when you put your brush into a powder bronzer and put it on your face and you start blending it out, there's just like that little hint of little extra like pigmentation that's left behind upon first application. It will blend out, but if you don't notice it, it's gonna stay there because she's pigmented. She is pigmented. She does not mess around. Beauty Powder Day Beaute does not mess around when it comes to leaving you bronzed and beautiful. It's great. It's a wonderful, wonderful makeup product. She's pricey. She's like 60-something dollars. And the component is just such like a fun little experience. It's about the experience. She smells good. It's just great. I really love this bronzer. Would repurchase. Like if I could go back in time, I would repurchase this. I think it's a really wonderful member of my makeup collection and I love to use it. But yeah, it's, as you see, much higher impact, but with a little extra love, works beautifully. And the last bronzing product in my collection is by Hourglass. This is the Hourglass Ambient Lighting Bronzer in the shade Luminous Bronze Light. This is the only glowy, shimmery product that I have in my bronzing category. And here's why. This is a really, really gorgeous color. I'm really trying to get a good swatch so you can see. I'll do it here. This is a really interesting product. As you see, it falls into the category of this like light neutral, sheer but buildable at the same time. And it does have like a slight hint of pink to it. I'm sorry I keep looking into the viewfinder. I know that somebody's going to be like, you should change it. Here's the thing. I just want to see that I'm talking about the correct swatches, okay? Anyways, this puppy here, she has a little bit more pink to her, all right? And so I have heard some people say that they don't like this bronzer because they can see the shimmer on their face, but I've personally, I'm a person, I don't like a shimmery bronzer. I don't really like that shimmery of a blush. Like I like glowy things, but I don't want it to be like glitter or shimmer, you know what I mean? But with this, it has these very finely milled shimmer particles in it that I find don't show up on me personally. They could show, I don't know. Everybody's different. But it does leave this really gorgeous sheen to the skin. So when it's blended out, let's see if we can get it. It does create this very blurring light shift to the face that I find personally very beautiful. Is it my favorite bronzer anymore? It used to be, but since I've tried others, it definitely isn't my favorite. Probably would not repurchase, and I'm happy that I have the little mini. It's great for travel, and given that it has like a little bit of pink in it, I find that on like days where you're in a rush, you pick this up, you necessarily don't need to put on blush. Like it's really, really lovely. But I do prefer an all matte sheer but buildable formula. And this just has a little bit more of a glow than I prefer anymore. I want my glow to come from my skin, not my like bronzing or blush. You know what I mean? But yeah, and it does fall a little bit more pink than I do prefer a color, but it still is really lovely and I don't dislike it at all. It's just not my favorite compared to everything else. Okay, and now to rank all of these products from least favorite to my most favorite, I have to start with the Bondi Bay by Nudestix. And it has nothing to do with the formula, but more so to do with the color. It just leans a little too yellow for my neutral bronzer preferences. But yeah, it has nothing to do with the formula. It's all to do with the color. And plus, I do believe that just some of the cream formulas and even powder formulas in the past couple of years are just not what they used to be. I feel like both powder and cream formulas have come a long way since I have tried Bondi Bay and Nudestix came out with that formula. Not that it's bad, it's just, it doesn't like stick out in my collection to me. Next is the Hourglass. Like I said before, it's not my favorite color due to it being a little bit pink leaning, and also it has that kind of light reflective property to it. I would much rather have that in a blush than my bronzer, especially. But it's not a bad product. I still do use it. I think it's a beautiful product on the eyes as well. But yeah, it's not like you can put this all over the face and it not look a little too glowy. Next is the Saie Sun Melt. I do find for my preferences, which are sheer but buildable and matte, this has a little bit too much slip for how dewy I like to wear my complexion products, such as like liquid illuminizers, balm, balmy highlights, and dewy skin tints. So I find that this doesn't last as long on me, given my personal preferences of how I like to wear my skincare and my base products with my makeup routine. It's not a bad product, it's just not my favorite. I think my number one cream bronzer is definitely my Nars Laguna cream bronzer, just because of the longevity, just how much integrity this formula has. It wears on the skin in such a beautiful way. It never looks muddy, it never looks patchy. They have so many different color options, and yeah, it's just such a gorgeous, gorgeous formula, and I'm so impressed with it still after a few years and trying so many other products in the bronzing category. I just think this is one of the best cream bronzing products that I've ever tried. So for powder, I will put the Gucci bronzer kind of at the bottom because of how pigmented it is and how, I don't want to say it's not user-friendly because it's blurring and beautiful and, you know, but it is much more pigmented than I do prefer a powder product to be. But the longevity is there. The color is gorgeous. That's the literally only bad thing, because I love all of these so much that it's really hard to say that something's bad. But yeah, I would say that for the powder bronzing category that the Gucci would come in last, just because of how pigmented and potentially like too much it can be for a look, or it can really make or break it sometimes if I'm not careful. Next, I will say that the Le Powder Bonne Mine by Le Fille Rouge is next to last in the powder category. Not to do with anything with the formula or the color or like the packaging, like its application is absolutely gorgeous. As I said before, I'm wearing it today. It's a beautiful, beautiful product, but my biggest complaint is that there's only one shade. And so I really want to promote and gush about products that is accessible for a wide range of people and with different skin tones and ages. And so this being only one color, like there's a select few of us that can really enjoy just how amazing this is. And so I just really want to note that it has nothing to do with the actual product itself. It's just, it's not fair, you know. And for second place in the powder category is the Victoria Beckham Beauty Bronzing Brick in the shade 2. Gorgeous. It's basically the same thing as the Le Powder Bonne Mine by Le Fille Rouge, but there are more shade options. And so if you don't feel like the Le Fille Rouge would suit you color-wise, there are many more shades in this formula that are absolutely gorgeous. And it's, you know, it's just that luxness. It's just the whole thing. The whole thing is great. And so yeah, number 2. Number 1 is my Haus Labs. Hands down, this formula is just so elegant and beautiful, and I just, it's just so good. Like, it's such a beautiful, beautiful product, and it comes in so many shades. And if you're sensitive to scent, there's no scent. It's just so nice, and I do believe that this is talc-free. I'll put it in the description box if it's not talc-free. I'll correct myself. But if you're a person that's, you know, kind of more conscious about your ingredients in your makeup, this I do believe that this is considered clean. But yeah, Haus Labs Power Sculpt Velvet Bronzer. What a perfect name. What a perfect name. It's so good. Last, my Brontours. Third place goes to the Westman Atelier Contour Face Trace Contour Stick. Ooh, these names. This is in the shade Biscuit. It's just, I think it's a little too expensive for what it is. But it's gorgeous. Like, I feel like if I could tie all 3 of my Brontours, I would, but this is number 3. Mainly because of the price. Number 2 is the Tower 28 Sculptino in the shade Getty. It's this really gorgeous, hydrating, balmy formula. And I think the major difference between this and this formula-wise is that this provides more even pigmentation. There's an emollience to it, but not in this like slippy slidey way that I find in the Saie Sun Melt. This is hydrating versus just being like this kind of thing that slides around your face, if that makes sense. And given that it is a balm, it does have staying power. And so that's what really matters to me. Staying on the positive note, I think my number 1 is definitely the Armani Beauty Neo Nude Melting Color Balm in the shade 21. I want this shade, and I want like a more warm, like a warmer warm. This, for some reason, they consider this warm. They were like, this is a warm brown. To me, this is not a warm brown. I want something that's like, oh, let's say, yeah, hold on. I want this color. See how much cooler that is? I want this color in this formula. Okay, Armani? Do it. So it's the number 1 in my Brontour selection and just in my makeup collection in general. I think that this one and the Haus Labs, so I think this one and the Haus Labs are tied for number 1 in general. They're just so good. Just absolutely gorgeous products. And I think that these 2 are actually a pretty similar color. Oh, yeah, they're actually pretty similar colors. The Haus Labs has a little bit more like warmth, but I do find them very similar with the way they lay on the face, and it's just like this velvety, matte, sheer but buildable sort of thing, and it's just so lightweight and so lovely. And yeah, I just want a more like even more bronzy version of this, because this is definitely like a sculpting, like Brontour kind of thing, but not too cool where I can't use it in the summer or by itself. But anyways, yeah, these 2 are my definite number 1s. Okay, so that is it. Those are all of my bronzing products in my collection. Just wanted to touch base and just really give a thorough review of everything that I own. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed it because it took forever. I'm out of breath, I'm thirsty. Okay. Also, happy Easter if you celebrate that. I don't. Okay, so that's it. I hope you enjoyed, and like, comment, subscribe. Tell me what your favorite bronzing products are and why. Or if I have something in my collection where you're like, ah, no. I also like hearing about that too. So I'll see you in the next one. Bye!